We're
I'm gonna walk down and see, do you want me to offer to pay her for the coins?
Yes, please.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Pride. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Catskills. I am Vickie O'Doherty, the worship associate for this morning. My pronouns are she or her. Many thanks to our technical team. We have L.J. McCaw as our sanctuary technical host, and Kathy Atwell is in charge of Zoom today. We are excited to have attendees both in person and in the sanctuary, as well as virtually on Zoom. If you are new to the congregation, we welcome you to stand and introduce yourself. Anybody? Hey! Great, welcome. Big welcome to everyone, too. Unitarian Universalism is a liberal religious faith that carries no creed and welcomes all seekers. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. We are guided by a set of principles and written sources that encompass the many ways we come to know and understand the world, the universe, and the divine. Our principles are important to us at UU Catskills, and we live our values on a daily basis. We affirm that Black Lives Matter. We are a welcoming congregation for the LGBTQ community. We are a congregational affiliate of the Ulster Immigrant Defense Network, and we are an active voice in the effort to address climate change. Our sanctuary is built on the tribal land of the Lenni Lenape people. You can visit our website, uucatskills.org, to find contact information to be added to the mailing list and to find the latest newsletter. You'll also find newsworthy items on upcoming events in our UU community. If you are a visitor online and would like to be added to our mailing list, you can put your name and email address in the chat box area on Zoom. A reminder that people of all ages, children, young and old, are welcome here at UU Catskills. There is a space across the hall for anyone who would like to hear the service while still being able to freely move about. I have some announcements this morning. I wanted to first mention, yesterday we attended Pride in New Paltz, the Pride Parade and event afterwards, and one of our members fell and hurt her head during the parade. She was taken off to Vassar Brothers Hospital. Linda Hackett was the member, and we have word today that she is doing better, and she said she's maybe released today. Okay. So our annual meeting is on June the 9th. It is very important that people attend it so that we can achieve a quorum. Zoom attendance is allowed, but makes it difficult to manage voting and discussions. So we need to encourage in-person attendance. How to avoid being scammed webinar on June 12th. It's going to be held here. And does it feel like you are bombarded with scam phone calls and phishing emails? Have you or someone you know been victimized by a scammer? If this is a concern for you, please join Susan Koppenhaver, Director of the Ulster County Office for the Aging, who will lead an informational session for us about common scams and how to avoid falling victim to them. And that'll be held on Wednesday, June 12th at 6 p.m. on Zoom. Stay after today's service for a brief presentation from Jen Benson of Clearwater, one of our half-plate recipients. She will talk about their programs, threats to the Hudson River, and which fish are safe to eat. Presentation will start at noon. I also have a new member who's here today. Susie Edmonds is a new member. She signed a membership. And we'll have membership Sunday is, when is membership Sunday? 2 weeks from today, thank you. All right, great. We also have, next Sunday is our flower communion ceremony. Bring a flower or two to share, please. A reminder, we have a social action minute now from Climate Action Team member Kathy Kastner.
Hi, so I'm Kathy, I use she, her. Hopefully you will all join us next Saturday night right here. We're going to do a screening of the film Common Ground. It's won all sorts of awards. It's about how we are poisoning our food, our soil, and ourselves, and how we can, there are solutions that we can use to make it better. There'll be options there for doing some social action afterwards and food as well. A panel discussion, yes, afterwards. We know Creek Inverson for sure, and who is one of our half-plate, he's from Seed Song Farm, and he's one of our half-plate recipients. We have someone from the Ulster Immigrant Defense Network, who is another half-plate recipient, and hopefully someone from the Kingston Land Trust. There's a few we're still confirming, but it should be an interesting night.
Will you take a moment, please, to turn off your cell phones or other electronic devices. Give yourself permission to be fully present here and now. After the service, please stay for an in-person or virtual coffee break. Do it over there. For our prelude this morning, Catherine Catabiani will perform, let's see, what do we got here? Oh yeah, Fanfare for the Common Man by gay composer Aaron Copland. I wanted to invite the children up today to light the chalice. Okay. Like that, okay? You can come all the way up here too, so you can reach everything. All right, passing it on, good job. Got it. Okay, who's blowing it out? Blew out that one. All right, good job. All right. Please join me in saying the words in your order of service for lighting the chalice. We light this chalice in grateful, loving community, even in the darkest of times. May its flames light paths to justice and hope. And now please join me in saying the words of the unison affirmation that are in your order of service. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love to all living beings. May we know once again that we are not isolated, but connected in wonder and joy to mystery and miracle in the universe, in this community, and in each other. Our opening words today are by Langston Hughes, a gay Black poet, writer, fiction writer, and a playwright. I've known rivers. I've known rivers ancient as the world and older than the flow of human blood in human veins. My soul has grown deep like the rivers. I bathed in the Euphrates when dawns were young. I built my hut near the Congo and it lulled me to sleep. I looked upon the Nile and raised the pyramids above it. I heard the singing of the Mississippi when Abe Lincoln went down to New Orleans, and I've seen its muddy bosom turn all golden in the sunset. I've known rivers, ancient, dusky rivers. My soul has grown deep like the rivers. Please stand if you're able and join in singing song number 170 in the Gray Hymnal, We Are a Gentle, Angry People. So we have a story today, not for children only, but it's a story. Our story is called A Penguin Family. Yeah, penguins. You like penguins? Me too. At the Central Park Zoo in New York City, there were two penguins named Roy and Silo who adored each other. It is typical for penguins to find a partner, a mate, one other penguin that is special to them. Usually it's one female and one male penguin that like each other and become a penguin couple. They have fun together and help each other out. When a female lays an egg, her partner takes turns with her sitting on the egg to keep it warm so it will hatch. Then a baby penguin pokes out of its shell to be born. And the two penguins become its parents and take care of it together. Well, Roy and Silo were partners. The zookeeper could all see that they did everything together that the other penguin couples did. They talked to each other in penguin language. They swam together. They would wrap their necks around each other to show their affection. Only female penguins lay eggs, and Roy and Silo were both males. The zookeepers could see that Roy and Silo wanted to be penguin parents, though, because one time a zookeeper saw that Roy and Silo were taking turns sitting on a rock. The rock was shaped like a penguin egg. Roy and Silo were keeping it warm so it would hatch. Of course, the rock would never hatch into a baby penguin. Then the zookeepers noticed that another pair of penguins, one female and one male, had two eggs that they were trying to keep warm at the same time, and that was tough. Zookeeper knew that this would be very hard for them to do at all. So they decided to give both eggs a good chance to hatch into baby penguins, and at the same time give Roy and Silo a chance to become penguin parents. The zookeepers gave Roy and Silo the egg that needed to be kept warm. First, Roy sat on the egg, then Silo sat on the egg. They took turns keeping the egg warm, just like the other penguin partners did. And finally, one day, Roy and Silo's egg began to hatch, and out popped a perfectly healthy baby girl penguin. The zookeepers welcomed the new baby penguin with the name Tango, because tango is a dance for two partners, two dancers, and to dance the tango, the partners have to stand very close together and understand each other's movements, and penguins always stand very close together. When two tango dancers have a good partnership, their dancing looks very lovely and graceful. The way Roy and Silo were such good partners together reminded the zookeepers of a beautiful tango dance. After Tango was born, Roy and Silo did what parents do, penguin parents that is. They kept Tango warm. They brought her food in their beaks and fed it to her, and in a few months, Tango was ready to do most things for herself. Her parents, Roy and Silo, had raised her very well. And that's the end of our story. So, as you leave this friendly place, love give light to every face. May the kindness which you learn light your hearts till you return. There they go. Yeah, the penguins, right, is going here. Ours is a sharing community where our joys are amplified and a caring community where our sorrows are lessened. We take this moment to reflect on our joys and sorrows and I'm going to add one more stone for those that we hold in silence in our hearts. Through our half-plate donations, we contribute to local organizations, as you heard before, there was a whole list of them, for the values and the work that they do. Our social action team has selected 7 local charities this year. The donations will be divided up equally amongst 7 local charities at the end of the year. You can donate by using the QR code on your order of service or by using the donate page on our website with PayPal or by mailing your check through the US mail. Our offertory music today is Zion's Walls by Aaron Copeland. Again, a gay composer. This is played by Catherine Catabiani. Thank you, Catherine. We have a responsive reading today. We don't do those too often, but it's in your gray hymnal in the back. It's number 587. It was written by Audre Lorde, a self-described Black lesbian mother, warrior, poet. Audre Lorde dedicated her life and her creative talent to confronting and addressing injustices of racism, sexism, classism, and homophobia. So please turn to number 587. I'll start by reading the plain type, and you'll respond with the italicized words. For those of us who live at the shoreline, standing upon the constant edges of decision, crucial, alone.
For those of us who cannot indulge the passive feelings of choice.
For those of us who were imprinted with fear, like a faint line in the center of our foreheads, learning to be afraid with our mother's milk.
For by expectance the disillusion of some safety to be found, and heavy footed hope to silence us.
For all of us, this instant and this triumph, we were never meant to survive.
And when the sun rises, we are afraid, we might not remain. When the sun sets, we are afraid, we might not rise in the morning.
And when we speak, we are afraid our words will not be heard nor welcomed.
But when we are silent, we are still afraid.
So it is better to speak, remembering
We were never meant to survive.
Amen. Our meditation and prayer today is called Totes Queer, and it is by Reverend Paige Getty, UU minister. She starts out with a poem. Queer, as in always becoming, as in less this or that, and more multi-layered, multi-dimensional, and complex, as in intimately experienced and beyond definition. And that's by M.J. Kaiser from Enfleshed. And the Reverend Getty goes on to say, at Capitol Pride last year, a vendor was selling tote bags with a simple, bold declaration. Totes les, totes ace, totes pan, totes trans, totes bi. And the favorite of my 13-year-old offspring and me, totes queer. She purchased that one and is now proudly displayed in her space in our home. More recently, I mentioned to Beth a newish acquaintance that our older child was traveling to visit her girlfriend. Beth herself, a lesbian, expressed surprise. Did I know that, she asked. Probably not, I said. In our family, the lesbian relationship is unremarkable. We're very queer. But here's the thing, we don't look at not from the outside, on the surface or from a distance. We're indistinguishable from the stereotypical white suburban family composed of mom, dad, both cisgender, 2 kids, dog, and corn snake. I'm in my early 50s and have been out since my mid-20s, having first claimed the label bisexual, though pansexual and queer fits better now. I've only ever had 2 serious romantic relationships. The first was with a woman, and I'm married to the second, who would tell you himself that he is also not straight. I am uninterested in romantic or sexual relationships with anyone other than my spouse, and also if something were to take him from me, I fully expect that I'd want another romantic relationship. I cannot anticipate the gender of that imagined potential future partner. After all, my attention is captured by the sorts of attractive people whose gender I might eventually register. My queerness, though, is about more than who I'm actively involved with romantically or sexually, and it's about more than what's visible on the surface. It's about mindset and attitude and intention. It's experienced in the private world of imagination and fantasy, as well as in the lived experience of relationship. It's in the rejection of waspy gender norms and in the deliberate choice not to assume or pressure a particular form of romantic relationship in the lives of the children I'm privileged to raise. And in the celebration of my own first serious romantic relationship, not as part of a life left behind in the past, but as an integral part of who I am now, spiritually, sexually, humanly whole, and totes queer. Her prayer that she offers, holy mystery, embodiment of love, more expansive and queer than we can imagine. May we live lives of integrity, always becoming whole and true and beloved. Amen to that. The sermon today that I wrote is called The Personal is Spiritual. In the early morning hours of June 28, 1969, the New York City Police Department raided a gay bar called the Stonewall Inn. Raiding gay bars at that time in our history was just the usual way of keeping lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer people in line and in the closet. The law of New York State made solicitation of homosexual relationships illegal. And in New York City, if a man or woman caught in a police raid at a gay bar didn't have at least 3 items of gender-appropriate articles of clothing on, they would be subject to arrest. Some women here today are partially in violation of that law by wearing pants. Okay? And if you're a man with a dress, you'd also be arrested. Yes, men with earrings. Bad. The LGBTQ patrons of the Stonewall Inn were subject to police harassment because the political and social powers were arrayed against our community. The Stonewall Inn, like many, if not all of the gay bars in New York City, was controlled by the mafia, which provided regular bribes to the police department. Police officials, not the department. The raid that night in June 1969 started with a riot that was led by a bunch of drag queens and butch lesbians. The people milling outside the bar did not retreat or scatter as they had in past raids. Their anger was vocal as they watched bar patrons being forced into a police paddy wagon that was going to take them to jail. They began to heckle and jostle the police and then threw garbage and bottles. The policemen who were used to more passive behavior, even from larger gay groups, called for reinforcements and barricaded themselves inside the bar. Outside, more than 400 people rioted. The rioters repeatedly breached the police barricade and the bar was set on fire. Other police officers arrived in time to extinguish the blaze, and eventually the crowd was dispersed. But the riots went on for 5 days in the New York City Greenwich Village neighborhood. Many historians characterize the riots as a spontaneous protest against police harassment and social discrimination suffered by a variety of sexual minorities at the time. There had been milder protests by gay groups prior to Stonewall, but after the riots, lesbians, gays, bisexuals, and transgender people realized the value in uniting behind a common cause. In the context of the civil rights and feminist movements, the Stonewall riots became a rallying cry for equality and justice for LGBTQ people. I grew up in New York City and didn't come out until 1975, a few years after the Stonewall riots. By the time I came out, the police raids had stopped and the gay community was starting to become a political force across America. I lived in Brooklyn, but all of my socializing occurred in Greenwich Village, which was our gay mecca. The lesbian bar that I went to was half a block from the Stonewall Inn, which is now a national monument. After I came out, I heard horror stories from older lesbians and gay men about pre-Stonewall life. My own uncle, who was gay, a Navy veteran and an aeronautics engineer, told me about a friend of his who was stalked and murdered after emerging from a gay bar. 6 years after Stonewall, I had less to fear in being arrested for being who I was, but I felt safer by remaining in the closet in public settings and especially at work. There was then, and there still exists, a threat of violence against gay people. I remember being threatened by a man wielding a knife when I was taking a subway home from Manhattan after nights of socializing. I was taking the train with a woman friend who was wearing a black leather jacket. The man saw us as our lesbian selves and didn't like it. We stayed near a crowd of people and avoided violence. The first closet that I chose to emerge from was the one I maintained with my family. The first person that I came out to was my sister. After I told her, she said, "I already knew that." I eventually came out to my mother, who had previously asked me if I met any nice men at work, which there are a lot of nice men at work. And I later came out to the rest of my family, bringing to my partners to holiday and family events. Fear and shame keeps the closet doors closed for many LGBTQ people. I was always afraid of being rejected and seen as the other, or a freak, or being subjected to verbal abuse or violence. And having been raised Roman Catholic, I was taught that being gay was a sin. I felt lonely and depressed. I felt as if no one understood me. And then when I finally came out, I left the Catholic Church. My title for today's sermon is The Personal is Spiritual. In order to speak about my subject, I looked for information about spirituality in the context of Unitarian Universalism. I found some insightful words by UU minister Sarah Campbell when she was asked by a colleague what her definition of spirituality was. She had to think about it before she could formulate an answer. This is how she defines spirituality. Now, as I think about the moment of truth as a moment of spiritual connection, I believe it has to do with both absence and presence. Spirituality is the miracle of birth and the mystery of death. It is the solace of solitude and the despair of loneliness. It is stirred in us by the beauty of ocean swells a few miles away and the ugliness of an unjust war in a distant land. That holy presence speaks to us in the blended instruments of a symphony and in the haunting cry of a hungry child. It is giving and receiving and giving. Spirituality is the flower and the compost heap. For Reverend Campbell, a moment of truth is a moment of presence, a moment of grace, a moment when there is a power at work that brings us into a common territory, a territory where human souls connect with one another and with the transcendent. Spirituality lives in the deepest parts of us, at our core. And that's where who we love and share our lives with is a holy presence. That moment of truth for me came when I came out. I was able to connect with the LGBTQ community in New York City when I was 23 years old. I've heard stories from other gay people who grew up in more conservative or rural areas in the days before the internet. They often had to move to larger cities to find ways of connecting to gay people. Some gay people married members of the opposite sex because they thought they had no other option to find the same-sex love, that they didn't think there was anyone out there like themselves. And some of those married people are now divorced because of the internet and now open concept of gay liberation. They also came to realize that because of their very public coming out stories of people who were known and loved, that became a norm. All of this opened wide the knowledge that LGBTQ people are not alone and are worthy. Connecting to a community is balm for the soul. It is a moment of truth, a moment of grace, a moment when we acknowledge and accept who we are to ourselves and to other people. In time, I had a crisis of the soul where I wanted to know the deeper answers to the deeper questions. I started to read books on the history of Christianity and realized how little I knew and how much I wanted to know. Once I knew the whole story of the history of Christianity, I felt as if I had swallowed a lie of omission. I also read about Gnostic Christianity, goddess religions, Buddhism, and quantum physics. I came to know that by finding my own beliefs, I was more free. After understanding what others believe, I now know that the God that I seek is a loving being. I like to say, after I hear some theology of hate, that my God is better than that. In the late 1980s, I started church shopping in my pursuit to find like-minded people who shared some of my own spiritual inclinations. I ended up at Unity, a Christian church that met in Lincoln Center in New York City. I liked its Christian ideas, but it lacked the breadth of theology and thought that I was looking for. A friend and I found Unitarian Universalism. Since we both lived in Brooklyn, we started going to First Brooklyn UU. There you are. Go. Yeah. She went there too. I liked the way services felt. I felt connected to social justice ideas that are at the core of Unitarian Universalism. I believed then and now that feelings of love connect us all to our spirituality and to the greater human experience. I joined that congregation until I moved upstate in 1987. I also chose Unitarian Universalism because it was, at the time, one of the few religious organizations with a history of wrestling with the demon homophobia. As early as 1970, only 1 year after the Stonewall riots, the UU General Assembly passed a general resolution that was titled Discrimination Against Homosexuals, that called on congregations to develop sex education programs that promote a healthy attitude towards all forms of sexuality. Unitarian Universalism is widely known for its commitment to equality for LGBTQ individuals and families. We are one of the few religions that ordains out LGBTQ clergy. Unlike in some other religious traditions, our LGBTQ clergy participate fully in our faith community as pastors in some of the largest congregations. Unitarian Universalism is proud to perform commitment ceremonies and marriages for couples regardless of gender, and has publicly supported this practice since 1984, long before it was made legal. The UUA actively encouraged member organizations to work for marriage equality in their communities, and leaders continuously advocated for marriage equality on the national level. I was married in this very sanctuary to my beloved wife, Leela, by our previous minister, Reverend Erica Barron, one of our previous ministers. We've had a few. Resolutions and actions on immediate witness have been passed at our yearly General Assemblies on many secular LGBTQ issues, including discrimination, AIDS, sexual education in public schools, gays in the military, and the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, and marriage equality. The UUA also offers a welcoming congregation program to help congregations become more welcoming to LGBTQ people. Most of our Unitarian Universalist congregations in the United States are trained and certified as welcoming congregations. That includes this congregation. This denomination has had sexuality education inclusive of issues of sexual orientation since 1971, and an adult curriculum on LGBTQ issues since 1972. The UUA also expects all ministers to demonstrate ministerial competency in the area of human sexuality before being approved for ordination. Nationally, the interaction of LGBTQ people and faith-based communities have been troubling. According to the Pew Research Center's survey of LGBTQ Americans in 2013, 29% of LGBTQ people said that they were made to feel unwelcome in a place of worship. I think that number's low because many LGBTQ people may not be coming out at their places of worship. I've read that one of the reasons why Unitarian Universalism for the most part has held steady membership over the last few years is because of the number of LGBTQ people in our congregations. Unitarian Universalism has been rated positively by the Human Rights Campaign, a LGBTQ nonprofit civil rights organization, in its evaluation of the faith positions of a variety of religions. It's telling that this civil rights organization has evaluated American religions, and that's because so many LGBTQ people have been emotionally abused, rejected by their families, or worse, sent to inhumane conversion therapy practitioners with the purpose of making them straight, all in the name of religion. When we evaluate current issues such as LGBTQ social justice, we weigh what was previously thought against emergent truths about what it means to be human and that we should treat each other humanely. We have been here before, struggling with issues of slavery, racism, and women's rights in the religious world. In many American religions, the Bible was used as a weapon in support of slavery and against blacks and women. It still is used as a weapon of oppression against women and, of course, LGBTQ people. But none of the conservative Christian religions can seem to find anything that Jesus said about LGBTQ people. They won't find it, it's true. They have to look at the Old Testament to find anything remotely related in the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, which liberal theologians see as a story about being inhospitable to strangers. In this time of divisive politics, it is often fundamentalist religions that are lining up against LGBTQ people's rights to marry and to not be discriminated against. LGBTQ people are afraid of future political outcomes that might threaten our freedoms and our lives. We UUs have no commandment to hate. Our first principle is our own selling point, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. It is a principle that is not subject to discussion. It is a value that does not say, except for those people. Reverend Dr. Rebecca Ann Parker says that our first principle is based in an unshakable conviction calling us to self-respect and respect for others. According to Reverend Barbara J. Peskin, the background for the first principle is in the history of Unitarian Universalism. Historically, we are the product of uniting the Universalist Church and the Unitarian Church. I was drawn to Unitarian Universalism after reading about the historical theology of our religious ancestors. Simply put, the Universalists believed in the essential goodness of God, who would not harm or damn anyone to an eternal hell. They just didn't believe in hell. They were called Universalists because they believed in universal salvation for everyone. Our other religious ancestors, the Unitarians, believed that everyone has the capacity to learn what is right and to do what is right. I was drawn to Unitarian Universalism because of this history and the current beliefs of UU, which do not require members to adhere to any dogma, but that we seek our own truth. I'm going to close my talk with a quote from UU minister Reverend Barbara Peskin. We affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person. This first principle of Unitarian Universalism takes me into the heart of this religion, just as I am. And it is this accepting community of gay and straight together that I believe in. This is a place where we affirm that love is our greatest purpose, and accepting one another is the truest form of faithful living. Amen. So mote it be. You're welcome.
Vickie, before you,
Right.
what's our next thing?
The next thing, yeah, that's a good question.
Extinguishing the tower?
No, I have the song. There's a song coming. Yep, there's a song. There's always a song. Song to be sung.
Very important announcement before.
All right, at the end, okay, I'll have you say that, okay? All right, sorry, I gotta get back to where I was. All right, our hymn today is number 1014 in the Teal hymnal. Please rise if you are able and join in singing hymn number 1014, Answering the Call of Love. It says standing, what does it say there? Whatever it says there, we're using the words answering the call of love. It's a different view of ableism, okay, instead of standing. Our closing words today are by Langston Hughes. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, Life is a barren field, frozen in snow. Please join me in saying the words that are in your order of service for extinguishing the flame. We extinguish
or the fire of commitment, these we carry in our hearts
until we are together again. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. Go in peace, and for those of you who are on Zoom, you can stay for a virtual coffee break, and for the other folks, there's our coffee break over there.
Vickie, we want to know.
Oh, the one